Hey everyone. I'm buttoning up after the installation of the carpet. I'm still cleaning up a few odds and ends. Whenever you take the car apart, you'll find some challenges sometimes putting things back together. One of my challenges is this is the shift plate for the closeout for the shifter. This one has the ends broken out. As those of you who followed for a while know that this car had the radio pried out. Somebody broke this when they did that. So I bought a new one. And you can't buy new, but you can buy a reproduction. And this one is supposed to fit I believe it says 84 through 89. What I discovered though is the designs are just a little bit different, and it's possible that the designs from model year to model year were different, and perhaps perhaps an 87 is different than an 85, and the replacement one will fit all. But the challenge I have is when I put it together, the new one has a colored flag that comes underneath, through the window of park, reverse, neutral, and so forth. And the old one, the factory part, did not have such a flag, and it just relied on the shift lever being next to the letter that you're in. And so when I put it together, I found that still worked. In other words, my shift lever is next to the letter, just like it used to be, but the flag isn't in the right place. So I'm going to show you here a little bit, get a little bit closer look on these parts, and let you see what I'm up against, and I'm going to see what it takes to fix it. So to give a little closer look, here's the factory part, and you can see the windows and the Prindle PRND1, and when you flip it over and you look at the back side of it, you can see it's got a slider, but there's no flag. Over here there's a spot for the light, but as I said, no flag. Also note that the hole for the shifter is oval. So let me set that one aside for a second. Here's the new one. And it's a nice piece. I mean, I like it. It seems to be pretty high quality. Everything works like it's supposed to and detailed, but it is a little bit different in its construction because the old one has kind of this recessed closeout, and this one is brought up to the top. Now, the top has an oval opening, but it's probably hard on the film to see, but if you look through the hole, it's not quite as oval when you get to the back side. It looks like to me like it's got a little bit of flash, and first thing is, here's the slider, and this white part slides back and forth along with the black part, and as you slide the white part, you slide that flag through the display. And that all works pretty good, except, well, first of all, there's a couple tabs that keep this black section, this black sliding part engaged, and it's starting to cause some trouble because there's, it looks to me, there's some flash in this hole, particularly on this right-hand side as we're looking at it right now. And I think I need to go in there and clean some of that out. Secondly, there is an adjustment. There weren't any instructions in the box with this part, and I couldn't find anything online. So I'm doing this kind of as you go, but this black slider has serrations in it, and the white piece is also serrated. And so you can slide this like that and move the flag with respect to this slider. And that would work out just fine. In fact, that's about in the middle, is about in the right place. But then when you take this plate and you put it right side up and you put it over the shifter, when I've been installing it, as soon as this all goes together and settles out, this piece slides to the back and it goes back into that position where the flag is too far forward from my application. So, you know, when it gets to there, it'll show up okay in park, but you never get to, you never get all the way down to 1. In order to get to 1, you need to have that flag slid to the other end, and then you can get down to 1 quite easily. The first thing I will do is try to get this hole cleaned out just a little bit better, because otherwise it's going to break this tab. It's already worn into it, and I've got like 10 miles on the part. So the second thing is, I don't understand yet why, how this is supposed to stay together. In other words, it's serrated, but as soon as you put pressure on it, it seems like it wants to move. And I think I need to find a way to fasten this down, because the serrations just aren't holding. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by cleaning up the flash on this part, because that is causing some extra difficulty. I don't know, maybe I'm going to come in here and put a dot or two of hot glue or something on there so that it retains its position when you get it installed. Because right now, I've tried this 2 or 3 times, and every time I put this thing on, if you look at it from the top, you know, the bottom section can move separate from the top section, and then this flag slips back and forth, and you have room to adjust the flag. I mean, it can go from here all the way up to there, so you can get a pretty wide adjustment. But so far I haven't been able to get it to stay, and as I said, the shift lever seems to be wanting to push this black part sideways, and that isn't helping things any. So let me start by getting that cleaned out, and I'll be back. Start with a razor knife. I'm just going to try to get the edges of it. I don't want to make it bigger fore and aft, just side to side. Put down some cardboard here so I protect my new carpeting. It's kind of an impromptu workbench, but it does the job. It's doing the job so far. I also have a small file, and I thought about filing it, but it's soft enough. The razor knife cuts flash off pretty easily. I'm going to go trial fit it and see how it works. Now, I gave it a try and it went back to its old tricks, so I've come in here again and cleaned just a little bit more over here, and then I blended. Again, you don't want to move it a whole lot fore and aft. You don't want the hole to get too big, or it'll have too much clearance. So I took some off the edge, and then there was kind of a burr on where this part rolls over. It's angled, and then it goes to vertical. So I just blended it just a little bit, very small amount, to take that burr off. That seemed to help. Now I'm going to go ahead. I got a piece of blue tape. I've got it set roughly in the middle, which seemed to be about right. So I'm going to put a piece of blue tape on here and see if I can get it to make sure it stays. So it's It's glued down, or taped down there. And we'll go give it a try again and see. So I have the car parking brake is set, and I have the car ignition unlocked so I could pull it out of park. And right now I'm setting in neutral. We'll try to set this on. Okay, so the shift lever's in neutral, and the flag is in neutral. It's almost touching reverse, but it's pretty close. So that looks pretty good at the moment from a position. It could maybe be back just a notch. And if I pull it into drive, that looks good. Try to get my doing this without the screws in it. So there's reverse, and it looks good. There's park, and it's a little far forward, so I may still have to pull the flag back a little. But let's see if it stays. Okay, now I'm all the way back to 1, and I have 1. That's a step in the right direction. Well, that's looking pretty good. I still think I might be able to pull it back 1 notch, but so now if I take it back off again, let's see what it looks like underneath. Well, my tape stayed, and the part it has stayed roughly in the middle. So that's pretty good. I'm going to try to do just one more here. And this part, this black piece did not jump out of its groove anymore, so maybe I got enough trimmed off. So let me come back here, 1 more notch. There we go. That's about 1 more notch. And get a fresh piece of tape. See where I'm at. I'm in park, reverse, neutral. So she's locked in. Alright, so it's back down again, still holding neutral. Since I'd like to fix it permanently, I'm going to get a screw or 2 in here just to make sure that it's down where it belongs. I won't tighten them all. Okay. And just for make it a little easier, I'll put the button back on here. Okay, so I'm in neutral, and I'm showing neutral. There's reverse, it's showing reverse. There's park, and it's showing park. Let's go all the way back to the end. Oop, not working. See, that should be neutral, so she's jumped out again. When you go all the way down to the bottom here is where it seems to lose it. Now let's take it apart and get another look. Alright, so see, when I got it out, the tape wasn't enough. See, when I get it out, you can see the black part is jumped out of its space. And it's jumped out of its space, and it's up over that pin. So when you go all the way to the bottom, it's I'm going to have to trim a little bit more here on the edge, because that seems to be the one that's knocking it crazy. But otherwise, fore and aft, it looks about right. Okay, well, I got a little alcohol on a paper towel here. I'm just going to wipe that, make sure there isn't any, call it manufacturing residue. I'm not sure the best way to do this otherwise. I'm going to try my hot glue. I had purchased the special one for plastic. Regular might still work. I don't think it has to hold that much, but as I work it back and forth, as this slides back and forth, it's jumping teeth. I kind of wish there was a way, and maybe there is a way, to put a pin or a screw through it. If you flip it over and look, you know, there are a couple, there's an opening there in the lower piece. So there may be a couple places where you could come in here and put a, you know, maybe a shallow pop rivet or something that would hold it in position. My thought is that if I use hot glue, if I need to, I can come in here and cut that bead. You know, I'm going to put a couple of dots, and I could cut the bead and move the part and hot glue it again, or easier than trying to put super glue in it or something like that that, you know, won't ever move again. So let's take a shot at this and see how it does. Put a dot there. Put a dot there. Just see if that's enough. Well, I've given it about 15 or 20 minutes to set up. Just, it shouldn't need that long, but just to be sure. But those are kind of flexible beads. They're pretty solid. Everything kind of walks back and forth. It doesn't look like it's going to move. Well, let's hope I picked the right slot. And go drop it in and give it a try. Shifter's up in neutral. And slide that together. Drop the back end in first. Finesse the left front corner. That's always how that seems to work. Getting pretty good at it now. I've had it in and out about a dozen times. Alright, so I'm in neutral. There's drive. Now I'm all the way back to 1. The part's kind of lifting up. Alright, I got to go back to putting. I'm gonna put the bulb in it and a couple of screws and see how we're doing, because it looks like it's where I want it. Well, before I do, here, first of all, let's lift her out and let's see if my glue stayed where it's supposed to be. Well, I got the 2 glue dots there. They're intact, and it doesn't look like it moved anywhere. All right. All right. It says I'm in park. It says I'm in reverse, and the flag is lined up. I'm in neutral. Drive. Overdrive. There's D, D2, P2, P1. So I'm lined up there. Put all the screws in, and I think I'm going to be set. Put the knob on, and I'm all done. That's what it takes to make the pointer line up on one of these Reproduction automatic shift plates. Alright, so that's how it looks all buttoned up. And yes, there's still an opening for the radio, but I'll deal with that a little later. The indicator says park, reverse, neutral, drive, overdrive, drive, 2, 1. It's lined up all the way through. The trick was to kind of get it lined up in neutral. I ran it through back and forth about a dozen times. Pulled it back apart just to make sure that the hot glue was staying intact and not moving. That seemed to work. I still think I could have done it with you know, some very gentle, what would you say, pop rivets or some, you know, drilling in and pinning it in some manner. But you got to really be careful that you don't, you know, drill through this top part too. So a couple dabs of hot glue seemed like that's a good trick. So all set, on to the next project.